What a day. So on top of the Georgia Senate results, we also get a massive showdown in Congress between Republicans against each other on the Electoral College and the president versus the vice president. President Trump tweeted out this yesterday. The vice president has the power to reject fraudulently chosen electors. That's actually completely false. That's not even true. And apparently, according to the New York Times, Pence told Trump at a lunch, private lunch yesterday, he's like, actually, I don't have that power. He's like, stop telling me to do that. Trump, not listening, actually even put out a statement from his own campaign trying to refute that reporting. There was no statement that I think a lot of people saw from Pence, which seems noteworthy, and capped it all off with this tweet. If Pence comes through for us, we will win the presidency. Many states want to decertify the mistake they made in certifying incorrect and even fraudulent numbers in a process not approved by their state legislatures. Mike can send it back. Once again, not true, actually, and probably unconstitutional. Although what a lot of MAGA people are saying is, yeah, it might be unconstitutional, but then force the Supreme Court to weigh in, which is a real galaxy brain take.
I'm sure that's going to work out just as well as all your other legal challenges did as well.
That's
By the way, though, none of that is going to happen. I mean, the statement from New York Times reports that Pence pushes back in this private lunch with Trump and is like, no, I'm sorry, I don't have the power to do that. So Trump puts out this statement. The New York Times report regarding comments Vice President Pence supposedly made to me today is fake news. He never said that. The Vice President and I are in total agreement that the Vice President has the power to act. So that is the line coming from the Trump camp. The other thing here about all of this is it's all just theater, too.
It is.
Because number one, they don't have enough Republicans in order to block the certification in the Senate. But even if they do, guess what happens? It goes to the House, where Democrats will just be like, okay, fine, we'll do this for you. So there is no end game here. It's all just, it really is a grift to raise money and for people's own political ambitions. That's all that's really going on here ultimately.
Yeah, that's what Tim Scott said yesterday. And once again, I don't know how I'm praising Tim Scott, but here we go, okay? He was like, this is one of the dumbest plans I've ever seen. We're going to, even if it worked in practice, right? Then you kick it to Nancy Pelosi and the House Dems to elect the new president. What are you talking about?
Right.
It's so dumb on every single level. It was over whenever the Electoral College met and voted to certify, or when the states certified their elections and the Electoral College officially met. That was it. Yeah. It's actually pretty simple. And you're right, which is that this entire gambit is meant, like I said, called it from the beginning, highbrow, stop the steal, tired to talk about a Pennsylvania election law. But, of course, Cruz cannot be outdone by Hawley. So he announced yesterday, let's throw this up there on the screen, he will object to Arizona's electors on grounds not entirely sure. So where we have right now is Cruz is going to object to Arizona. Hawley is going to object to Pennsylvania. Loeffler is going to reject Georgia. And Tommy Tuberville is also probably going to join in on Georgia and might go and contest another state. Now, there's a lot of symbolism to a United States senator who was never elected to anything in her life and just got defeated last night in a United States Senate election, coming into the chamber and voting to decertify the votes of her own state after having
her own election,
having been soundly defeated twice in a month. That's impressive, Senator. Congratulations.
Indeed it is.
Look, it's a clown show no matter where you put it. It's going to be fine. There's far more Republicans who have put out statements. I think it's 24 Republicans saying that they will vote to certify the elections, and that many of those who are silent are much more likely to appear on the side of those rather than on the, I think, 12 to 14, which have announced that they're going to object. So at the end of today, there will be a lot of battles in the late night. There will be a debate on the Senate floor and all of that. Joe Biden's victory will be certified within the U.S. Senate. But we can't lie and say that many politicians did not debase themselves throughout this process. And just look at Georgia last night. Those suburban voters who were all turned off by this stuff came out in droves to put Democrats over the line in Georgia. So the political cost is there. And, I hope it works out for you in the Iowa 28 primary, because I still do not believe that it will, because, like I said, unless you're willing to go full Dominion, no one is going to reward you for going half stop the steal, which is what most of these senators are doing in this particular case. They know it's meaningless.
Right.
They know it.
Well, and this all just cements, this was already the case, but this really cements the fact that Trumpism doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything other than, your loyalty to him. That's where the dividing lines are going to be drawn. That's where the battles within the Republican Party are going to be fought. And so ultimately, it's utterly meaningless. And as we saw in Georgia, if he's not on the ticket, then he's a destructive force of the Republican Party outside of himself, which actually reminds me somewhat of the Obama dynamic where, uniquely when he's on the ballot, he could create this particular coalition and drive up turnout and all of these things. But just, running his radio ads, putting his face in your ads, all those sorts of things, it's not nearly enough to, just have the Obama affiliation isn't sufficient. And I think it's the same thing here with Trump. There's also, we were debating, what does Trump really think? Does he really buy into all the nonsense that he was spouting on that call, which about Dominion machines and all this stuff? And Politico has some new reporting saying basically that he does believe he lost and will not be the next president and is upset about that. But that he thinks if the vote had been fair, he would have won. So I guess it's kind of at least according to this reporting, it's kind of in the middle. He does buy into some of the election fraud nonsense, but he also recognizes the reality that he is not going to be occupying the White House for the next 4 years.
I saw another report that he would rather have his core supporters believe that he lost and it was stolen from him than rather that he lost, period, in order to save face. I believe that.
That sounds like him.
These people are multifaceted. Anybody who becomes president is usually an egomaniac, convince themselves of anything. Trump probably even more so than many of the other ones. And so, it doesn't surprise me if he were to believe it. And this is the crazy part to it never had to be this way. It's like I said, Trump, and you're going to see Mitch McConnell and the establishment types be like, what we really need to go is back to Bushism whenever we lost the popular vote and the Electoral College. And I'm like, okay, well, look, Ohio and Florida are now red states. Places like Iowa and Indiana are now red states. North Carolina, it's red-ish, even though it went blue for Barack Obama. Trump did change the Republican Party. He did do better than any past Republican nominee in terms of the popular vote. Actually drove out millions, and I really mean this, millions more votes in California and in Texas, in Colorado. These are numbers among formerly Democratic voters you would never have seen again. So I don't want to discount. He changed the Republican Party and politics forever. He actually moved it, I think, in a direction which can win better elections, but his bullshit is directly responsible. This was always the package deal with Trump. You get that, and you get this. Is directly responsible now for these Georgia Senate losses and for prompting this entire circus in the first place, which I think is like a circular firing squad. Because now you have people, Republican senators, who are like Mitt Romney. I was just watching a video of him getting harassed in the airport. He's a traitor and whatever. And I don't like Mitt Romney, but whatever. And then you also have the senators who decided to go all in on this stuff. And now they are also, I believe, going to pay a political price in the future. I don't think people are going to forget, this type of gambit. And so there we go, right? I went over the institutional problems and everything yesterday. I just think it's a terrible episode for the country, and that's where we are.
Yep, and a lot of people complicit in that terrible episode and ultimately unlikely to derive any political benefit that they think that they're going to get. All right, more Rising for you after this.